Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Legendary dancer and choreographer Bill T. Jones is featured in the new documentary, Can You Bring It? Bill T. Jones and D-Man in the Waters. I spoke with him in 2017 about receiving the Portrait of a Nation prize at the National Portrait Gallery. Just talk about your fellow honorees for a second. How exciting is it to be with Spike Lee and Rita Moreno and Madeline Albright and David Ho?
Yes, well, first of all, to be honored in this way across the board is wonderful. Every person you just mentioned, I have great respect for. And I've had some cursory interaction with all of them, except for David Ho, over the last couple of years. At one point, Spike and I were even talking about doing a project together. And I don't think it ever went anywhere because I love Michael Jackson. That was something. It was about gentrification in Brooklyn, but that was the title. And Madeline Albright and I were at a roundtable discussion with Colin Powell and some people from the Arab Emirates talking about a festival in the desert. That was sort of, I don't know whatever happened to it. And so Madeline, Spike, and Rita Moreno, I staged for the Young Arts Organization, their gala, and she was there, and we had an exchange, which was kind of fun. So I have some, I know all of their work. I'm very, very honored to be part of it.
Do you remember the first time you saw a Spike Lee film and how shattering it was?
Right. Well, what was the first Spike Lee film that I saw? Was it She's Gotta Have It? Or was it Do the Right Thing?
Do the Right Thing?
Do the Right Thing, yes. Yeah, that was a fresh way of talking about territory that many of us had grown up with in the 60s and 70s. I think it was made in the early 80s, wasn't it?
89 was the year.
89.
Yeah, remember 1989, the number, Another Summer.
Right.
That's how it starts with the Public Enemy. Yeah.
Yes. So, he was the kind of go-to guy. He and John Singleton sort of came out together at that time.
Boys in the Hood was like 2 years after, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Spike was always spiky and ever more uncompromising, and he was a darling for a while, and then he was so much of himself that he was less of a darling, and now I think he's coming back again as a darling. So it's interesting to see how a career moves, advocating not only civil disobedience, but also, remember the trash can through the window?
Mookie throws the can.
Yes, so this was not correct. We're supposed to be in the kumbaya phase, and we can work past our differences without violence, but this was a film that captured something that was really deeper under the surface. And
yeah, it ends with the two quotes, right? There's a Malcolm and a Martin quote, and it leaves the audience to say what's to do the right thing.
I don't remember, actually. Yeah. I don't remember how it ends. Yeah, but some of us live with doing the right thing every day.
Go into that a little more, because you said you wanted to talk less about your accomplishments and more about where we are today. What do you mean by that? We live with doing the right thing.
Yes. How do you love white people? I do. How are you an authentic black person? I am, but I have doubts. What does it mean to do the right thing? Artists have got to do their own thing, and sometimes their thing is not necessarily the right thing for the group. So the morality of one's actions in the world, and who is the arbiter of one's morality? These are the questions that I think that do the right thing looms. How it looms large for me every day. Cut the BS. What do you really believe? It's a challenge of middle age. You're so sure of yourself when you begin, when you're young. Yeah, I know exactly what is right, what's wrong. The Vietnam War, bad. KKK, bad. Kennedy, good. Nixon, bad.
You put them in boxes really easily when you're young. And
we do it now. We have a media that has a perennial case of infantilitis. Is that what I want to call it? And
not just the media.
Yeah.
Some of our leaders, too.
Well, no, all of us do.
Yeah.
We want it to be much more simple than it is. Mm-hmm. The dirty work of really knowing people who are different than you are. And this is from somebody who has defined himself as a maverick, an outsider. Mm-hmm. And but yet trying to integrate literally. I don't want to live in the alienation that I indulged in for years. So do the right thing. I don't have children, but those people who are listening to this right now, you do have children. What are you doing that's the right thing is going to make the world a place that is what? There's that word, inclusive. That's a world wherein people, what does love really mean without sounding like an empty, hollow and sentimental term? What does love really mean? And how are you preparing yourself and your children? Because they don't, as someone said to me, let's be clear, kids don't listen to what you say.
Right.
They watch what you do.
Right.
So do the right thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, what could those parents be doing for their kids? I mean, because so many people, I mean, I grew up in rural farmland in Maryland, and then only till you move down here and you start interacting and covering the arts and the culture, you start understanding, there's whole other ways of life, of living. So what can those parents that, rather than raise their kids in these little silos, because it's like confirmation bias. You hear what you want to hear, and everyone's retreating to, even the news you watch is you're seeking out things that you already believe in. But how can we have people step back and break out of those silos?
That's not something you would ask a self-involved artist. You might ask a social scientist or the people working at your school or educating your kids. That's the word. For me, you have to travel. You should be in a situation where you're a minority at least once. That's a big one right now in America.
That's great advice.
Yeah. How do you do that? And what is your comfort zone? I read the newspaper. I get lazier and lazier every year, waking up at dawn for various reasons and pulling that New York Times open and scanning through top stories. Got that. Read the first paragraph here. Oh, that story makes me uncomfortable. I'm not interested in that. What do you mean that made you uncomfortable? What do you mean you're not interested in that? Okay, take a breath. Go back. See if you can really go into this fresh again. And now, know more about the things that you think you are convinced about. What do I really know about the tax plan? What do I really know? I know I have a feeling about it. What do I really know about the women's movement? I always thought, well, I'm a feminist.
Right.
All of my friends were, I think it's now popularly called second wave feminism.
Right.
So I thought, got that.
Right.
But now I thought, I'm being educated again.
Yeah.
So don't be so convinced that you know. And so what does that mean? Maybe you do have to listen more.
Yeah.
I heard I had dinner with some really wonderful people the other night in Arizona, and it's one woman, a black woman, was saying that she's a very important person in this community, and she had invited her colleague, a white professional, to come with her to a kind of a community meeting. It was going to be a different disenfranchised Latinx persons, black persons. And he said, I don't know. Why do I go there? They want me to be a cutout version of myself. In other words, he said, I'm a white man, and I'm never supposed to have an opinion. I'm supposed to shut up and listen. And she and I were sort of chewing that over. Will there come a time when it's all right for everybody to equally express their opinions? I think there will be a time, but maybe it's not now. And that's not a comfort for a person who believes in free speech like I do. Is it true that you, who have often felt like the oppressed, now can be in the oppressor class and you've got things to learn? So maybe you feel you should be allowed to express my opinion just like anybody. No. We'll get your opinion has been expressed for the last 3,000, 4,000 years. Now, maybe you're going to be uncomfortable for a while, and maybe some injustice will be done. But that's the moment we're living in right now. Do the right thing, which seems to be our leitmotif.
This is our theme for this. Yes. Yeah. I mean, hey, Spike's one of the honorees, so it worked. But Rita, we were also just talking with Rita Moreno, and we were talking about her. I mean, the immigrant story. She came from Puerto Rico, and and that's a huge theme now. And then in the song, they say, "Life is all right in America if you're all white in America." I mean, that could be said today. They could have written that today.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that here we are quoting a good musical made by three gay men.
Right.
None of whom were Hispanic.
Right. That's a good point.
And but it is now, that is the way many of us understand the experience of Spanish speakers in the U.S. in the mid-20th century through a musical made by three white gay men. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way it works. Right.
Yeah.
We should know that that's what's happening, though. They should know that's what's happening.
Actually, and believe it or not, that musical started in D.C. It had its before it went to Broadway. It was at National Theater right down in D.C.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Wow, that's the dream of every producer. You're going to start something out. They talk about a home run.
Right.
Because I think someone told me every week somewhere in the world a production of West Side Story is happening.
That's insane.
You know?
Yeah. But I believe it. I believe it.
I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, we could talk about the accolades of the show itself, but more to double back to your point about how, you know, it's those three gay white men writing that. Yeah. I think at least there's more of an awareness of at least we're getting there of who's making the stuff now. I hope back in the day it was kind of more of the system would crank it out and you didn't realize that. But do you think we're sort of trending in that direction where it's I don't want to say identity politics because that's such a loaded term, but you know,
it's true. Well. You know, and I'm conflicted about this. If a work is an effective work, do I really care who made it and how it came? Actually, I guess I have to care now.
Right.
Because, you know, for the longest time, there was kind of an unexpressed notion that the best works about people of color were not made by people of color. And if you look at some of the successful works,
like what are we thinking about?
Well, no, not Carmen Jones. No, but what about Porgy and Bess?
Yeah.
Two very talented young guys, New York Jewish guys. I believe they're Jewish. No, I know they were Jewish. I know they were New Yorkers. Go to the South and very moved by Charleston.
Yeah.
And they soak up this lore, and then they go back and they turn it into something which is Puccini-like.
Right.
Right?
No, yeah.
And it's now become a staple of the opera canon.
Right.
Well, God, there were no persons of color making durable musical works like that. Right. We should still give pride of place and to those works that succeed on the merits of as themselves. Let's assume we don't know who they are.
Right.
Now, this is a difficult thing I'm saying because, you know, it could be really argued that we should always know.
Right.
But I hold out that it's like a free speech issue. That the work.
Explain that.
Well, everybody, no one should have to justify the art they make. They shouldn't have to justify it. It's got to sink or swim on the merits of its persuasiveness.
On the piece itself.
On the piece, and I know because but who's the audience for it?
Right, that's true. Right. That's where that comes in.
So, but I can only take it as far as the creative artist. The artist feels an impulse. Hopefully they're talented. Hopefully they know the ramifications of what they're doing. Put it out there in the marketplace of ideas, and let's see if it deserves to succeed. But you should never edit it beforehand and say you as a white man cannot write about a black trans woman.
Right.
I don't think you should do that.
And vice versa.
And a black trans woman writing about a white man. Oh no, that's fair game.
The limits are off of that.
No, well, because that is the academy.
Yeah, true.
That's the language we're speaking. Look, you and I are speaking, quote, English right now.
Right, that's a good point, yeah.
You know, I don't know what your background is, but you look at me, and let's go back a few hundred years. What language was I teaching, and how do I happen to be speaking English?
Right.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
And my name is Jones.
Right.
Right? So there's...
that's a great point.
Yeah. So I'm obviously... I'm not Welsh. Somebody was Welsh who owned me, probably, or owned my people. So I'm saying I can't be expected to be completely clear-eyed and equal about this. But I'd say all bets are off when you take on the language of the power structure. You can critique it and do what you want to. The power structure, because they have been exploiting and benefiting from telling the history and directing the development, has to show more humility. Right. Now, all that I'm saying, there's somebody who will say that is so much BS, Bill T. Okay, well then I'll meet you in the court of public opinion, and I will meet you on the shores of where good, great, and poor works all hash it out, and then we will let history decide.
History's undefeated. Time is undefeated. It always usually bears out.
Time is undefeated, huh?
You like that?
Well, it is. But
or are you disputing this?
Well, no, I think about it because this time...
I'm thinking the arc of the moral, of the justice.
It's the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice.
That's the line of it.
And it's being...
The king line.
Yeah, it's being critiqued every day. And if you look at the atrociousness where places where there used to be liberal, open thought, and now to see the corruption that has come in terms of our notions about what is allowed, what is right, what is moral, what is the right thing, and you think about the influence of money, that statement sounds almost like a kind of sophistry. And you know what? Or maybe a statement of faith. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm and your openness,
Anytime. This is what we need. These are the conversations we need to have every day.
They are being had every day. I don't know if I have the stamina to have them every day. But somebody should.
Absolutely.
And the young should. Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking a brief window in your day to have it today.
Thank you for covering this important ceremony. I'm very honored to be a part of it.
And congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.